The sleek silver ship pulsed with an eerie blue glow as it entered the atmosphere of Nexus Prime, a manufactured world designed for one purpose: the ultimate game. Inside, 6 figures lounge in opulent surroundings that alien features a stark contrast to the luxurious human-inspired decor. Zarvox, the self-proclaimed leader of the group, raised a crystalline glass filled with a shimmering liquid. "My friends, our annual hunt is upon us. This year's prey promises to be entertaining." The others, Nilara, Krell, Vexilor, Quina, and Draz, turned their attention to the holographic display hovering above the center table. An image of a human female materialized, rotating slowly. "Cora Steele," Zarvox announced, his voice a mix of anticipation and disdain. A nobody from a backwater Earth colony, picked up for petty theft on Centauri Station, unremarkable in every way. Nilara, her iridescent scales shimmering in the low light, leaned forward. "Why her? Surely there are more challenging prey available." Zarvox's lightless mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his species. "Ah, but therein lies the beauty of it. The utterly ordinary often prove to be the most surprising quarry." As the ship descended towards the planet's surface, Cora Steele sat in darkness, her breath steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. The holding cell was cramped, barely large enough for her to stretch out. She'd lost track of time since her capture, but the constant hum of engines told her they were no longer in space. Cora closed her eyes, focusing on the weight of the small device hidden beneath her skin, just behind her ear. A parting gift from a life she'd left behind, one she hoped never to revisit. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The cell door hissed open, flooding the space with harsh light. 2 guards, their exosuits marking them as proxions, roughly pulled Cora to her feet. "Move," one of them grunted in broken English. Cora complied, her muscles protesting after hours of inactivity. They marched her through winding corridors until they reached a massive airlock. Beyond the reinforced glass, Cora could see a world that defied description, a landscape of twisted metal and pulsing energy fields, dotted with structures that seemed to defy gravity. The airlock cycled open, and a blast of hot, acrid air assaulted Cora's senses. The guards shoved her forward, onto a platform overlooking the alien terrain. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," a silky voice announced. Cora turned to see 6 figures emerge from the ship. Their alien features were diverse, representing species from across the galaxy, but they all shared one common trait: the unmistakable air of immense wealth and power. The one who had spoken, a tall, willowy being with skin like polished obsidian, stepped forward. "I am Zarvox. My companions and I have brought you here for a very special purpose." Cora's eyes narrowed. "Let me guess, you're going to hunt me for sport." A ripple of amusement passed through the group. Zarvox's eyes glittered with approval. "Indeed, you're quicker than we anticipated. Good. It will make the game more interesting." One of the others, a bulky creature with mottled green skin, grunted. "Enough talk. Let's begin." Zarvox held up a hand. "Patience, Krell. The rules must be explained." He turned back to Cora. "You have a 20-minute head start. Use it wisely. The terrain is treacherous, designed to challenge and confound. Survive for 3 planetary rotations, and you win your freedom. Fail, and, well, I'm sure you can imagine the consequences." Cora's mind raced, assessing her options. The implant behind her ear tingled, a reminder of resources these aliens knew nothing about. She forced her features into a mask of terror, playing the role they expected. "Please," she begged, her voice quavering. "I'm nobody. I don't deserve this." Zarvox's expression remained impassive. "The hunt isn't about deserving, my dear. It's about survival. Your time starts now." Without warning, the platform beneath Cora's feet disappeared. She plummeted, the wind rushing past her ears as she fell towards the nightmarish landscape below. At the last moment, her descent slowed, some unseen force gently depositing her on the ground. Cora didn't hesitate. She ran, her feet pounding against the metallic surface as she darted between towering structures of impossible architecture. Behind her, she could hear the excited voices of her hunters, preparing to give chase. As she ran, Cora allowed herself a small, grim smile. These aliens, for all their wealth and advanced technology, had made a crucial mistake. They thought they were hunting prey. They had no idea they were about to become the hunted. Cora's lungs burned as she pushed herself to run faster, weaving through the labyrinthine landscape of Nexus Prime. The alien world pulsed with an otherworldly energy, its twisting metal structures and shimmering force fields creating an ever-changing maze. But Cora wasn't lost. Not really. As she ran, her hand brushed against the small bump behind her ear. The neural implant hummed to life, flooding her mind with tactical data. Suddenly, the chaotic terrain resolved into a complex but comprehensible pattern. Cora could see the logic behind the madness, the purpose in the planet's design. She skidded to a stop, ducking behind a pillar of pulsing energy. Her 20-minute head start was nearly up. It was time to turn the tables. Back at the launch platform, Zarvox and his fellow hunters prepared for the chase. Each of them carried weapons of immense power and destructive capability, custom-made for their unique physiologies. Nilara, her serpentine body coiled with anticipation, flicked her forked tongue. I can taste her fear in the air. This will be over quickly. Krell, the hulking green-skinned brute, growled in agreement. Good. I hunger for the thrill of the kill. Vexlo, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid exosuit, sparked with excitement. Let us not be hasty. The joy is in the pursuit, after all. Zarvox raised a hand for silence. Remember, my friends, we hunt not just for sport, but for status. The one who claims the killing blow will rise in standing among our peers. Now, let the hunt begin. With a collective roar of excitement, the 6 hunters launched themselves into the air, propelled by anti-gravity devices that allowed them to soar over the twisted landscape. From her hiding spot, Cora watched them spread out, their alien forms silhouetted against the artificial sky. Her implant fed her constant updates on their positions, movements, and likely strategies. Time to show them what they're really dealing with, Cora muttered to herself. She closed her eyes, focusing on the implant's neural interface. With a series of rapid thought commands, she activated its more advanced functions. Suddenly, the very air around her seemed to shimmer and bend. To any observer, it would appear as if Cora had simply vanished. Cloaked in an advanced camouflage field, Cora began to move. Her steps were silent, her movements precise. She wasn't just some petty thief from a backwater colony. She was a ghost, a shadow operative trained by the best the human race had to offer. As she navigated the treacherous terrain, Cora's mind raced back to her training days. The endless drills, the brutal conditioning, the mental fortitude required to become invisible in plain sight. It had all been leading to this moment. High above, Quina, an avian creature with razor-sharp talons and enhanced vision, screeched in frustration. I've lost visual. The prey has disappeared. Zarvox's voice crackled over their shared communication channel. Impossible. Our scanners will have detected any cloaking technology. Spread out, search every crevice. Cora allowed herself a small smile. Her implant's cloaking field was beyond anything these aliens had encountered. It didn't just bend light, it altered the very fabric of reality around her. As the hunters fanned out across Nexus Prime, Cora began to study them more closely. Each had their strengths, their weaknesses. Krell relied too heavily on brute force. Nylara's enhanced senses could be overwhelmed. Vexilor's energy form was vulnerable to certain frequencies. Cora's implant recorded and analyzed every detail, building a comprehensive strategy for what was to come. Because Cora had no intention of simply surviving for 3 planetary rotations, she was going to end this hunt on her terms. Moving with practiced stealth, Cora made her way towards one of the towering structures that dotted the landscape. Her implant had identified it as a control node, one of many that regulated Nexus Prime's ever-changing environment. As she approached, she heard the telltale sound of anti-gravity propulsion. One of the hunters was nearby. Cora pressed herself against the structure, her cloaking field adapting to match its metallic surface perfectly. Draz, a multi-limbed creature with clusters of eyes covering most of its body, landed nearby. Its tentacle-like appendages probed the area, searching for any sign of its prey. Cora held her breath, watching as Draz's numerous eyes swiveled in all directions. For a moment, she thought she'd been discovered as one eye focused directly on her location. But after a tense few seconds, Draz moved on, chittering in frustration. Once the coast was clear, Cora accessed the control node. Her implant interfaced with the alien technology, decoding its systems with remarkable speed. Within minutes, Cora had gained a measure of control over a section of Nexus Prime's terrain. "Let's see how they like it when the hunter becomes the hunted," Cora whispered, a fierce determination in her eyes. With a series of neural commands, Cora initiated her first counterattack. The ground beneath Draz's feet suddenly shifted, panels sliding away to reveal a chasm of swirling energy. The alien hunter screeched in surprise, its multiple limbs flailing as it plummeted into the abyss. Across Nexus Prime, the other hunters froze as Draz's agonized cries echoed through their communication channels. Zarvox's voice cut through the chaos. "What's happening?" Draz, report. But there was only static in response. As the remaining hunters converged on Draz's last known location, Cora was already on the move. She had drawn first blood, but the real battle was just beginning. The aliens would be on high alert now, their arrogance replaced by caution and fury. Cora allowed herself a grim smile. Good, let them be afraid. Let them wonder what kind of prey they had truly chosen. Because Cora Steele was done running. From this moment on, Nexus Prime would become her hunting ground. And these self-proclaimed elite, they were about to learn the true meaning of fear. The artificial sky of Nexus Prime darkened, mimicking a night cycle. Zarvox and his remaining hunters gathered at the sight of Draz's disappearance, their expressions a mix of confusion and growing unease. "This is impossible," Nilara hissed, her scales rippling with agitation. No mere human could have manipulated the terrain like this. Krell stomped his massive foot, causing tremors in the metallic ground. "Perhaps we underestimated our prey." Zarvox's obsidian features were unreadable, but there was a new tension in his voice. "Spread out. Be on guard. This hunt has become unpredictable." As the hunters dispersed once more, Cora watched from the shadows, her cloaking field adapting to the changing light. Her implant hummed, processing the wealth of data she'd gleaned from the control node. "Time for Phase 2, she murmured, setting her plan into motion. Across Nexus Prime, the environment began to subtly shift. Pathways that had been clear moments before suddenly ended in dead ends. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably, causing the hunters to stumble and lose their bearings. Vexilor, the energy being, found himself trapped in a corridor of pulsing force fields that interfered with his ability to maintain cohesion. His panicked cries echoed through the communication channels before abruptly cutting off. "Vexilor, report," Zarvox demanded, but there was no response. Quina, soaring high above, suddenly plummeted as an anti-gravity field enveloped her. She crashed into a twisting spire, her wings crumpling on impact. Her pained screeches filled the air before falling silent. Cora moved swiftly, taking advantage of the chaos she created. Her implant guided her through the ever-changing landscape, always one step ahead of her pursuers. As she rounded a corner, she came face to face with Nilara. The serpentine alien's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "I can sense you, human," Nilara hissed, her eyes scanning the seemingly empty space before her. Cora remained perfectly still, her cloaking field adapting to match her surroundings. She knew her scent was masked, but Nilara's enhanced senses were formidable. In a lightning-fast move, Nilara struck, her elongated body uncoiling like a spring. But Cora was ready. She ducked and rolled, her training taking over. As she came up, she activated a sonic emitter in her implant. A high-pitched whine filled the air, causing Liara to writhe in agony, her sensitive hearing overloaded. Cora didn't waste the opportunity. She grabbed a piece of debris and struck, knocking the alien unconscious. 3 down, 3 to go, Cora muttered, disappearing back into the shadows. Meanwhile, Krell and Zarvox had regrouped, their backs to each other as they scanned the area. "This is no ordinary human," Zarvox said, his voice tight with anger and a hint of fear. Krell growled in agreement. "We should never have brought her here. This hunt is cursed." "Quiet," Zarvox snapped. "We are the elite. We will not be bested by some lowly human." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. Who was this Cora Steele really? How had she turned their carefully crafted hunting ground against them? As if in answer to his unspoken questions, the ground beneath their feet began to shift. Panels slid away, revealing a network of tunnels and hidden passages. "Scatter!" Zarvox shouted, but it was too late. Krell's massive form disappeared into one of the openings, his roars of rage echoing as he fell. Zarvox leaped, his anti-gravity device activating just in time to save him from a similar fate. Hovering above the transformed landscape, Zarvox felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: fear. The hunt had gone terribly wrong. His companions were missing, possibly dead. And somewhere out there, a human, a being he had considered insignificant, was systematically dismantling everything he had built. "Show yourself," Zarvox bellowed, his composure finally cracking. "Face me, Cora Steele." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, carried by the very air of Nexus Prime. "Why, Zarvox?" Cora's voice was calm, almost amused. "I thought you enjoyed the thrill of the hunt. Isn't this what you wanted? A challenge worthy of your elite status?" Zarvox spun in midair, trying to locate the source of the voice. "What are you?" he demanded. A chuckle echoed around him. "I'm exactly what you made me, prey that refused to be hunted. You should have done your research, Zarvox. Not all humans are created equal." As Cora spoke, the landscape of Nexus Prime continued to shift and change. Structures rose and fell, pathways appeared and disappeared. Zarvox found himself trapped in a world that no longer obeyed his commands. "This ends now," Zarvox snarled, raising his weapon. "Come out and face me." "As you wish," Cora's voice replied. Suddenly, she was there, standing on a platform that materialized beneath her feet. Her cloaking field shimmered and faded, revealing her for the first time since the hunt began. Zarvox's eyes widened as he took in the sight of the human before him. Gone was the terrified prey he had expected. In her place stood a warrior, her eyes sharp with intelligence and determination. "Shall we finish this hunt, Zarvox?" Cora asked, her voice hard as steel. "Just you and me now. No more games, no more running." Zarvox raised his weapon, a snarl on his alien features. "With pleasure." As the two faced off, the fate of not just the hunt, but of Nexus Prime itself, hung in the balance. The final confrontation was about to begin, and neither hunter nor prey would emerge unchanged. As Zarvox and Cora squared off, the very fabric of Nexus Prime seemed to hold its breath. The shifting terrain stilled, as if the planet itself was waiting to see the outcome of this final confrontation. Zarvox fired first, his weapon unleashing a blast of searing energy. Cora dodged with inhuman speed, her neural implant calculating trajectories and feeding her body instructions faster than conscious thought. "Impressive," Zarvox sneered, adjusting his aim. "But he can't dodge forever." Cora didn't waste breath on a reply. Instead, she tapped into Nexus Prime's systems through her implant, causing the platform beneath Zarvox to tilt sharply. The alien hunter stumbled, his next shot going wide. Taking advantage of his momentary imbalance, Cora charged. She may not have had Zavok's advanced weaponry, but years of combat training had honed her body into a weapon of its own. The two clashed in a flurry of strikes and countermoves. Zavok's alien physiology gave him strength and reach, but Cora's enhanced reflexes and tactical analysis kept her one step ahead. As they fought, Cora's implant continued to interface with Nexus Prime's systems. She was looking for something, a weakness in the planet's defenses that she could exploit. Suddenly, her implant pinged with an alert. There, buried deep in the planet's core, was an anomaly, a presence that didn't belong. Cora disengaged from Zavok's, putting distance between them. "You're not as clever as you think, Zavok's," she said, her voice cold. "Did you really believe you could enslave an entire planet without consequences?" Zavok's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about, human?" "Nexus Prime," Cora replied. "It's not just a hunting ground, is it? It's alive, sentient, and you've been suppressing its consciousness to serve your twisted games." For the first time, genuine shock registered on Zavok's features. "Impossible. You couldn't possibly know that." Cora tapped her temple, where the implant hummed beneath her skin. "I know a lot of things you thought were impossible, Zavok's, and now I think it's time we let Nexus Prime have a say in how this hunt ends." Before Zavok's could react, Cora sent a command through her neural link. Deep within the planet's core, layers of programming and suppression fields began to unravel. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The ground beneath their feet shuddered. The sky above flickered, its artificial appearance giving way to something more organic. Zavok stumbled, his weapon falling from his grasp as he struggled to maintain his footing. "What have you done?" he roared. Cora stood firm, her implant allowing her to adapt to the rapidly changing environment. "I've leveled the playing field," she replied. "Let's see how well you hunt when the planet itself is against you." As if in response to her words, tendrils of energy erupted from the ground, wrapping around Zavok's limbs. The alien hunter struggled, his once confident demeanor replaced by panic. "You don't understand what you're doing," Zavok shouted. "Nexus Prime was unstable, dangerous. We contained it for the good of the galaxy." Cora approached him, her eyes hard. "No, you contained it for your own amusement. You turned a living world into your personal playground. And now it's time to face the consequences." The sky above them swirled with colors never before seen by human or alien eyes. The very air hummed with an awakening consciousness. Nexus Prime was alive, aware, and it remembered everything. Platforms of solid energy formed beneath Cora's feet as she walked, the planet responding to her presence as an ally. Zavok's, in contrast, found himself sinking into the suddenly liquid ground. "Please," Zavok's begged, his arrogance finally shattered. "You can't leave me here. You don't know what this planet is capable of." Cora paused, considering. For all his cruelty, Zavok's was right about one thing. She didn't fully understand what a freed Nexus Prime might do. Her implant was feeding her data faster than she could process, painting a picture of a world with power beyond imagining. As she stood there, torn between vengeance and caution, a new presence made itself known. It didn't speak in words, but in sensations and images that flooded Cora's mind through her neural link. Nexus Prime was communicating with her directly. In that moment of connection, Cora understood. The planet had been aware all along, watching and waiting. It had allowed itself to be used, biding its time until someone like Cora arrived, someone who could bridge the gap between organic life and Nexus Prime's unique form of consciousness. The planet didn't want revenge. It wanted balance. A new order where it could coexist with the beings that walked its surface, not as a tool or a playground, but as a partner. Cora took a deep breath, making her decision. She reached out, grasping Zavok's hand and pulling him from the liquefied ground. "Nexus Prime isn't your enemy, Zavok's," she said as the alien hunter stared at her in confusion. "But it's not your slave either. Things are going to change around here, and you're going to help make it happen." As if in agreement, the chaotic environment around them began to stabilize. The sky settled into a swirling tapestry of colors, beautiful and alien. The ground solidified, but remained responsive to their movements. Zarvox looked around in wonder and fear. What? What happens now? He asked, his voice small. Korra's eyes gleamed with determination and the reflected light of a world reborn. Now we build something new, something better, and we start by finding the others and explaining that the rules of the game have changed. Forever. As they set off across the transformed landscape of Nexus Prime, Korra couldn't help but smile. She had come here as prey, but she was leaving as something much more. A bridge between worlds, a catalyst for change, and perhaps, just perhaps, the beginning of a new era for both humanity and the wider galaxy. The hunt was over. The real adventure was just beginning. As Korra and a subdued Zarvox traversed the newly awakened Nexus Prime, the planet's consciousness guided them through its transformed landscape. Platforms of shimmering energy formed beneath their feet, carrying them effortlessly over chasms of swirling colors and through forests of crystalline structures that sang with alien harmonies. "We need to find the others," Korra said, her implant continuously processing the flood of data from her surroundings. "They need to understand what's happened here." Zarvox nodded, still visibly shaken by the dramatic shift in power. Krell and Nilara should have survived. They're resourceful. As if on cue, a distant roar echoed across the landscape. Korra recognized it immediately, Krell's distinctive bellow of rage. "Sounds like your friend isn't taking the changes well," Korra remarked dryly. They rounded a corner to find Krell trapped in a cage of pulsing energy, his massive fists pounding against the barrier to no effect. Nearby, Nilara was coiled tightly, her serpentine body wrapped around a pillar of light as she hissed threats in her native tongue. "Stand down," Zarvox commanded, but his voice lacked its usual authority. Krell and Nilara turned, their eyes widening at the sight of their leader in the company of their prey. "What trickery is this?" Nilara demanded, her forked tongue flicking rapidly. Korra stepped forward, her posture calm but alert. "No tricks, just the truth. Nexus Prime is alive, and it's no longer your playground." Krell rolled in defiance, redoubling his efforts to break free. Lies, human deception. Suddenly, the energy cage around Krell pulsed, and a series of images flooded the minds of all present. Korra recognized the touch of Nexus Prime's consciousness. It was showing them its history, its long slumber, and its recent awakening. As the vision faded, Krell and Nilara fell silent, their expressions a mix of awe and fear. "It's true," Nilara whispered, slowly uncoiling from her perch. Krell's massive shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of him. "What now?" he growled. Korra looked at each of the aliens in turn. "Now, we negotiate. Nexus Prime is willing to coexist, but on its own terms. Your days of unchecked hunting and exploitation are over." Zarvox stepped forward, seemingly finding some of his old confidence. Perhaps this is an opportunity, a new kind of experience we can offer. Hunts sanctioned by Nexus Prime itself, with the planet as an active participant rather than just terrain." Korra raised an eyebrow. "You're adapting quickly." "Survival requires adaptation," Zarvox replied simply. As they discussed the possibilities, the landscape around them continued to shift and change, as if Nexus Prime was considering their words. Suddenly, a new presence made itself known. A figure coalesced from the swirling energies, not quite solid, not quite ethereal. It was vaguely humanoid, but its form rippled and flowed like liquid light. "Nexus Prime," Korra breathed, recognizing the planet's avatar. The being nodded, then spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You have awakened us, Korra Steele. You have given us choice. Now we offer you the same." Images flashed through Korra's mind, possible futures, branching paths. She saw herself leaving, returning to her old life with riches beyond imagination. She saw herself staying, becoming a bridge between Nexus Prime and the wider galaxy. She saw conflict, cooperation, and everything in between. "The choice is yours," Nexus Prime's avatar said. "But know this, your actions here have set in motion changes that cannot be undone. The galaxy will never be the same." Cora looked at the aliens who had once hunted her, then back at the shimmering avatar of a living planet. She thought of the life she'd left behind, the secrets she'd kept, and the incredible potential of what lay before her. With a deep breath, she made her decision. "I'll stay," Cora said firmly, "to help guide this transition, to ensure that Nexus Prime's awakening leads to cooperation, not conflict." The avatar nodded, a ripple of approval passing through its luminous form. "Then let us begin." As Cora stepped forward to shake hands with the being of pure energy, she couldn't help but smile. She had come to Nexus Prime as prey, but she was leaving as something far greater, a diplomat, a peacekeeper, and perhaps the key to a new era of interstellar relations. The hunt was truly over. The real challenge was just beginning. One standard galactic year had passed since the fateful hunt that changed everything. Nexus Prime, once a hidden playground for the elite, had become the talk of the galaxy. Its awakening and Cora's role in brokering peace had sent shockwaves through interstellar society. Cora stood on a balcony overlooking the planet's ever-shifting landscape, her neural implant humming softly as it processed the constant stream of data from her surroundings. The view before her was a far cry from the sterile hunting grounds of a year ago. Now, crystalline spires reached towards the swirling, colorful sky, while rivers of pure energy flowed between floating islands of impossible geometry. Admiring the view again, a familiar voice asked. Cora turned to see Zavok approaching, his obsidian skin reflecting the ambient light. The former Hunt Master had undergone a remarkable transformation over the past year, becoming one of her staunchest allies in reshaping Nexus Prime's purpose. "It never gets old," Cora replied with a smile. "Every day, something new emerges." Zavok nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "The Galactic Council convenes tomorrow. Are you prepared for your address?" Cora's expression turned serious. "As ready as I'll ever be. It's not every day a human gets to speak on behalf of a sentient planet." The past year had been a whirlwind of diplomacy, negotiation, and careful planning. With Nexus Prime's awakening, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically. Some saw it as a threat, others as an unprecedented opportunity. Cora's job was to navigate these treacherous waters and ensure a peaceful integration of Nexus Prime into galactic society. "You've done remarkably well," Zavok said, a note of admiration in his voice. "A year ago, I would never have believed a human capable of such finesse." Cora chuckled. "A year ago, you were trying to hunt me for sport. I'd say we've both come a long way." The conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from Cora's implant. A holographic display materialized before them, showing a three-dimensional map of Nexus Prime and the surrounding space. "Incoming transport," Cora noted, studying the readout. "Looks like our guests for tomorrow's demonstration have arrived early." Zavok straightened, smoothing his ornate robes. "Then we should greet them. The success of tomorrow's event could determine the future of Nexus Prime in the galactic community." As they made their way to the reception area, Cora marveled at how much had changed. The once deadly hunting grounds had been transformed into a hub of scientific research and cultural exchange. Beings from across the galaxy now came to Nexus Prime to study its unique properties, negotiate with its consciousness, and experience its ever-changing wonders. The reception hall was a marvel of organic architecture, its walls pulsing gently with bioluminescent patterns. As the doors slid open, Cora and Zavok were greeted by a diverse group of galactic dignitaries. There was Ambassador Lyra of the Andromedan Conclave, her tentacles shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. Next to her stood Gaxthor, the hulking representative of the Ursa Majoris Collective. Even the notoriously reclusive Quantum Hive had sent an emissary, its form a shimmering cloud of nanites. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Cora greeted them, bowing slightly. "We're honored by your presence." Ambassador Lyra's tentacles rippled in what Cora had learned was a sign of curiosity. "The honor is ours, Mediator Steel. Your work here has become legend across the galaxy. Many still find it hard to believe that a human could broker peace with a sentient planet." Cora smiled diplomatically. "Nexus Prime did most of the work. I just helped facilitate understanding." Gax-4 rumbled a laugh. Modesty. How refreshing in this age of galactic egos. As they exchanged pleasantries, Cora felt a familiar presence at the edge of her consciousness. Nexus Prime was listening, observing through her. The planet had become an integral part of her life, its vast mind a constant companion thanks to her neural implant. "If you'll follow me," Cora said, gesturing towards a shimmering portal that had appeared in the wall. "Nexus Prime would like to give you a tour. I think you'll find it illuminating." As the group stepped through the portal, they found themselves on a platform high above the planet's surface. The view was breathtaking. Continents reshaped themselves in real time, oceans of light ebbed and flowed, and in the distance, a mountain range played a symphony with the wind. "By the cosmic core," Gax-4 breathed, his usual gruffness replaced by awe. Cora felt a surge of pride. This was what she had been working towards, showing the galaxy that Nexus Prime was not a threat, but a wonder to be cherished and respected. "Tomorrow," she addressed the group, "you'll see how Nexus Prime can contribute to galactic peace and progress. Its ability to reshape matter and energy at will could revolutionize everything from terraforming to clean energy production. But more importantly, its consciousness offers us a new perspective on life itself." The Quantum Hive emissary buzzed excitedly, its nanites forming complex patterns. "We anticipate great advancements in collective consciousness studies." As the dignitaries marveled at the display, Zarvox leaned close to Cora. "You've done it," he whispered. "You've given them a glimpse of the future." Cora nodded, but her expression remained focused. "This is just the beginning. There will be challenges ahead. Those who fear change, those who seek to exploit Nexus Prime's power. Our job is to ensure that this gift to the galaxy is used wisely." As if in response to her thoughts, the landscape below them shifted, forming a massive symbol that Cora recognized as the galactic sign for unity. It was Nexus Prime's way of communicating its commitment to this new path. Looking out at the awestruck faces of the galactic representatives, Cora felt a surge of hope. The hunt that had brought her here, meant to be her end, had instead become a beginning, not just for her, but for the entire galaxy. As the tour continued and plans for the future were discussed, Cora couldn't help but smile. She had come to Nexus Prime as prey, become its protector, and now stood as a bridge between worlds. The challenges ahead were daunting, but for the first time in her life, Cora Steele felt truly at home in the vast expanse of the cosmos. The hunt was long over. The real adventure of shaping the galaxy's future had only just begun.